I wanted to start recording because I think this is so precious, the part about, yeah, about how often I notice and I hear from other people about feeling scared and yeah, hiding it, or uh, somehow the fear of fear maybe is used to put up a bit of a wall or put up a screen to be seen through. And I love I love I got this question, which is the one I asked you, which is like, what can you do? How can you use your fear right now for this space? And yeah, and then you started speaking, and I wanted that to be captured. Will you say again if you can? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's also a very usual fear to be in the online space, even in person spaces, just before the space starts. And what what I want to do with the fear is to basically accept it the way it is and be with this uncomfortable sensations and be vulnerable with it, acknowledge it, share it also.
Here's Aeon.
Cool. Welcome, Aeon.
Hello.
Hello, Aeon. Welcome.
Hi, Nicole. Long time.
Yeah.
So we finally managed with all the time confusion to hook up or connect.
Yeah. Thank you for your diligence and perseverance, Aeon. I'm so glad you could make it after all.
Yeah, I will only have about half an hour, something like that, because we actually have I have a tango class this time Wednesday, so I have to go. But I just wanted to sort of hear about this thing and connect with you and
Yeah,
be as
welcome.
much as I could here. Yeah.
Great. So the impulse for me to open this space is because I myself live in something that one could call a Archiarchy Invention Center. And I'm saying one could call it this way because who really knows what an Archiarchy Invention Center is? And this call is especially also to get a bit more clarity. What is really an Archiarchy Invention Center? And to gather the different flavors and colors and sounds or whatever the sensations that every Archiarchy Invention Center has, to also capture a bit of a picture where we are right now in the creation of this network of Archiarchy Invention Centers, and see, okay, there might not all be the same. There's maybe not one way, and it, yeah, for me also, is it a decision that you just take? Do you just declare what an Archiarchy Invention Center is and then create it? For it's also a space for getting exchange and hearing what are the processes that everybody is going through in relation to the AICs. Hmm. Here
Thank you.
I am in Mexico, in Veracruz, state of Veracruz, and we are four people living together using the tools of possibility management, and we're creating a new culture by living the four of us together with our babies, with children, with visitors coming, practicing, holding our context, and also sharing it with other people, especially the work with the feelings, with the local people that are interested in it. And by this, creating a culture where people have the possibilities in the gateways to take higher level of responsibility. And that's what I'm turned on, to be with people that are taking higher level of responsibility so we can play on that level of trust, of honesty, of love, and all the bright principles that can come in once we're taking higher level of responsibilities.
Yay.
Yay, go.
So I'm honestly a bit surprised that that there's nobody else here. I thought this would be a really a popular thing because I thought it was so interesting, and also a little sad that not more people have turned up. But I'm really happy to connect with you. And I wanna, I have two things I want to share. First is I had a conversation today that's going to continue tomorrow with Clinton, which is about um, opening for instance, the possibility management global events game world. I proposed to him that we change it to the Archiarchy events because what I'm working with is on the border of possibility management, and I have several spaces that I really would like to invite into, which is sort of a bridge between possibility management and esotericism, and possibility management and eco-village. Because what I work with is integrating these different um, contexts and game worlds. And so what I'm sort of interested in, not strictly pure possibility management, but is this bridge building. And so to me, and also Clinton acknowledged this, that Archiarchy is bigger than possibility management. And we actually had a talk today about trying to define a set of distinctions that sort of define Archiarchy and as a sort of a minimum set, then you are in Archiarchy, and then build it out in different ways. So this is like one thing that is present with me and occupying me. And I wrote a 14-page paper about my reflections on Archiarchy that I sent to him 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to have a talk to him about it tomorrow. And this was actually something we discussed in Poland last year. I said I wanted to sort of build out this sort of conceptual idea of what archiarchy, which is a big thing if it's going to replace patriarchy. It's going to be roomy, have space for a lot of different game worlds and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing. And the other thing is that what I'm currently engaged in here is creating, or over the years, I've been working with grounding and impulse, and it has sort of crystallized into both a context and a game world now. After I was at the Game World Possibility Lab last year and sort of got this technology more integrated. And I'm very excited about that. And sort of the context we have named Authentic Joy, which is a sort of a combination of community technologies, possibility management, and esotericism. And so it's different from possibility management, but it has a lot of the same distinctions as a foundation, but then it builds upon that with other distinction and practices also.
I,
And
go ahead.
the game world we are creating is called the Gaiaversity, which is a sort of a different kind of institution, which is sort of the university of the third millennium, if I was sort of big thing. But it's a totally new concept of how to organize these training that has to do with also integrating the 7 rays and working with group synthesis. So I know this is a lot. It's just to say that there's this big project that I'm working on, which is totally aligned with what you're talking about, and which Venera and I are holding space for here at our place in Denmark, where we hope to build a community called Gaiaville.
Aeon, wow. Thank you.
It sounds super cool.
I have some questions and I want to ask them now because I know you don't have a lot of time. One is that I would love to, will you somehow make available the article that you wrote? I
Yeah,
would.
my plan was to share it in the village as soon as I have sort of cleared up any misunderstandings with Clinton so that it's clear.
Okay, perfect. And are there websites yet for Gaiaversity? And what was the name of the game world that something joy?
Authentic Joy.
Okay, great.
Yeah, gaiaversity.com is a website that I'm working on. It's getting there. There's enough to sort of get the gist of what it's about.
Awesome. And for authentic joy?
I have a folder that I have written that I can send you that we are we normally would give this out in our basic training, but mostly because it has so much possibility management in it that people have a hard time integrating it. But I mean, I would be totally okay to share it with you and love to have some feedback on it. The only thing, it's not quite ready, so maybe I'm just writing a little bit on it tomorrow, and I will send it to you and also to you, Anton, if you're interested. I'd
Hmm.
love to get some feedback on that. But you can read a little bit about under the menu point context at the Gaiaversity. There is a
Oh,
brief
okay.
description of it also. This
Perfect.
is like the more extended version of it.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
shared it with Clinton a while back, and he thought it was really interesting as a way of uh, showing how a context could be done. I have a lot of symbols and trying to sort of illustrate what I see this thing is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Wow. Do you have any questions, Anton, for Aeon right now?
Well, it's a question that came up for me is in the, well, you were talking about distinctions that kind of define or give a bit of a pillars to what archaearchy is. And I think it's also important to, okay, what are the pillars of Archiarchy Invention centers? And is these really centers where people are living physically? Or could there be a Gaiaversity where, which is more an institution where archaearchy is lived daily, but people don't live in the Gaiaversity? Maybe they do live there. And so that would be an institution where people come to practice, to train, to live archaearchy. Well, that's what I got from what you were talking, Aeon.
Mm.
And so that's a question, an open question that doesn't need to be answered right now, but that's what I'm with.
Yeah, so the way a Gaiaversity is, you could say, an eco-village with 7 points of service into the world, uh, where the idea being that you have a community as a base, as a reference, as a community of practice, and that you work with initiation along these 7 different ways of, or 7 different energies, which is from the theosophy, the 7 rays. And so it's definitely something that is lived, and this is the whole point. In contradistinction to a university, which is about knowledge, this is about initiation and embodied learning, and so it is a very different approach to learning. I think that Archiarchy Invention Centers is basically invention centers in archaearchy. So, well, that's my take on it anyway. So these basic distinctions that characterize what is archaearchy, I think, is very relevant also to the Invention Center. And I think this is actually a very important discussion to have when it's a little bit like, the bird is leaving the nest, where Clinton has been nursing this for 40 years, and all these things are happening now, and it is expanding beyond Clinton's sort of yeah, the concept that he has created, and this is a very interesting process where people come in, like I come in with 40 years of research in all kinds of direction, and I hear Clinton talking about this, and it's like, wow, this just fits so perfectly. But there's all these things that also need to go there, and I think maybe you have the same thing. You have things from your traditions that are also belonging in Archiarchy. And this is the process that we're in right now to find out how do we go about that, and also make a distinction between possibility management and Archiarchy.
Yes.
What is the difference between the two?
And is possibility management strictly necessary for Archiarchy, or can Archiarchy also live without people know and live and practice possibility management?
That's a good question.
Hmm.
I want to bring myself in, really.
Yes, please
Mm,
go. I was just about to ask to hear from you.
thank you. Yeah, I in a in an Archiarchy study group a few weeks ago, there was this question about the people who are creating Archiarchy Invention centers. Are we connecting? Are we cross-pollinating? Are we creating teams? How are we on each other's teams? What are we discovering? And this question came within just a couple of days of the third person arriving in what's become called the seed pod here in Western Canada. And I've been calling the physical space I've been living in for 15 months now the seed pod, I'm so clear that I'm a seed. I'm a Gaian eco-village seed. I'm a seed of Archiarchy. And I wanted at least 2 more seeds with me in the seed pod so that there would be a 3 cell, because it's become so clear to me that there's something intrinsic about there being a 3 cell to begin a Gaia village or an Archiarchy Invention Center, maybe even a bridge house. Mm. And the and and I was talking about this with a few people in the last few days, because of arising from the kind of chaos of 3, where with 2 people, if something happens and I didn't do it, I know it's the other person who did it, in the space. But with 3, it's like it could be one of 2, and I notice my gremlin tendency to not ask unless it's a really kind of certain level of importance thing. And so all this, so much more is happening, and I think of there's this physics phenomenon called the 3-body problem, which basically says if there's a system of 2, it's very predictable. You can write all kinds of algorithms predicting how it will go with 2 bodies. But as soon as there's a 3rd body, randomness is inevitable. And that same randomness is, I get how that's where the possibility expansion, or the access to possibility expansion, comes. And I got so clear that any Archiarchy Invention Center that starts with 3 people, it will be completely different. They'll all be so completely different from each other because of what the 3 people who would be in something like the seed pod that I'm in now with Laura and Sarah have and don't have, in terms of resources, in terms of matrix, in terms of, yeah. And I love this so much, because as someone who's been holding space for something like 16 years now, for this conversation, what does it take to create the village it takes, not just to raise a child, but to keep initiating adults into higher levels of authentic adulthood, and to honor elders who, and also to be Gaian, to steward the earth. This has been a question I've been living in for longer than 16 years, but especially these last 16 years. And I got people say, well, you're not really doing it. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm not really awakening the village or building a village. I'm not really a village builder. It's like, well, you don't have land. You don't have money. You don't have, like, you're not doing it. And I would, you know, I would often get hooked, and I would say, you know, there's a lot more to building a Gaian eco village. There are other layers of it that I was taking a stand for, learning about, which is how I ended up in possibility management in the first place, because I
I
had such a
notice
longing.
I notice you're feeling something. What is it that you're feeling?
Yeah, there's sadness and anger.
Hmm.
This anger about having clarity, but having fear about my clarity, and so often holding it in or holding it back, or going into defending when I would get hooked. And also this sadness about, yeah, I mean, right here, right now, with the two of you, it comes to me that this is a 3 cell, that this is maybe a seed event. This call is a seed event for something like this Archiarchy invention, global invention team or something, with people who are doing it. I I have this experience. It's like I'm learning how to build and fly a plane while I'm building and flying a plane. And it seems impossible. And you know, sometimes we come down to earth with a bit of a thud, and you know, then we get into some low drama about who did what and how it happened, that we're in such dissonance. And yet the problem is the solution. The problem keeps being the solution, keeps being the source of the solution.
Hmm.
I I feel moved by your pain, and I feel tear. Um, because it also reminds me of something that happened today, which was actually quite extraordinary, and it's sort of so new and virginal that I don't even know if I'm ready to share this, but uh, I
Aeon,
somehow also feel this is a seed event. I was
yeah.
so enthusiastic that I saw this invitation,
Aeon,
and
I also see that you're feeling something in
yeah,
to go slow and write the feeling and the beauty of this. What are you
yeah, I try.
feeling?
Yes. Oh, I was looking at my watch and it was happening. Actually, I have 8 minutes. I thought I only had 1 minute left. That's the other watch is wrong. Okay.
Beautiful.
So um, I feel moved. I feel touched. And um, one of the things that have happened as I have worked with sort of materializing this diversity idea is that I realized that a diversity is actually a living being. It is the point of the diversity is to have 7 big centers of service of cultural transformation, that the community sort of commits to providing this service to the world, and so that it works with all the cosmic rays of creation, and in that way it creates, like the human body, we have 7 chakras, that when a community commits to serving each of these energies in a specific way into the world, the community creates an avenue of this energy, the higher energy, to be transmitted into the culture. And when they do that, they can attract what's called a Mahajiva, a great soul that is sort of beyond the human, that can use the whole village as a vehicle or manifestation. And this sort of idea, I had the first inkling of it back in the 90s. And what happened today was that as Venera and I had our first meditation after I have completed this thing, suddenly this being came through. I had this channeling. I like channeled 3 times in my life or something like that, and I had this channeling of this being telling how that I've been calling for her for 30 years, and now she was here ready for the next phase of our community. And this Easter is sort of the birthing of this work. And I was sort of just blown away by the energy that was there today. It was
Holy
like
shit, man.
being inside a crystal palace, and everything was just. And both of us were really, really just sort of blown away by the energy today. And this has never happened to me before, something like this.
Crazy.
And yeah, so I was just very just moved by feeling also your dedication. You said it's through 16 years you did this. I got the same thing. For the last 20 years, I've held space for this physical venue here, and it has been really, really difficult and lonely in many ways. And I think that, I don't know, I think we're just at the cusp of something. And I also feel, wow, just being here with the two of you, sharing this desire to create these invention centers is so nourishing and something that I really longed for. I have really missed having this kind of community where you have the depth, but you're also doing something that's really impactful in the world, and have this combination, if it makes sense. This has been one of my great longings, and something that I have not really had very much of.
I'm just looking
Mhm.
around because there are phrases that you've said in these first 28 minutes, Aeon, that just landed me. Uh, I didn't even notice it when you first said Gaiaversity. I didn't notice that I've been using this word Gaiaverse as the morphogenetic field of planet Earth within the wider universe, but it's a universe of its own, a distinct
Mm.
universe. And also you just said this phrase, Crystal Palace, and the name of one of the gathering spaces in the land that I've become close to here on the Sunshine Coast is called the Crystal Palace, and it was built by the man whose house I'm in right now. It just seems like there are these little bursts from echo that from the Earth's Coincidence Control Office that are, yeah, the consequences that yeah, I think something is happening that I have wanted to happen for a long time right here with both of you. And yeah, I I want the rubber to hit the road.
Well, I think it's hitting the road right now.
Yeah.
And Clinton actually tasked me with coming up with a set of distinctions that should sort of, what are the basic distinctions for archiarchy for our meeting tomorrow. So this is like thing I have on my plate. And I would be interested in, it's like, if you would just come with one distinction that you feel is really foundational for archiarchy, what would that be? I asked myself this question, and I came up with the first thing that came to my mind was Gaia is a living being and is on a journey of cosmic evolution, just as every human is on a journey of cosmic evolution. That was the first distinction that came to me about what defines archiarchy. I don't know if you have some input for that. I'd be really love to have it.
Yeah, feelings
But
and
not for my distinction, but other distinctions that you feel is what else is there that's just so fundamental for archiarchy that it needs to go into the basic set of distinctions.
for me is the set of feelings and the distinction of feelings and emotion, and the five bodies also of what I notice for to relate with people in a deeper way where we really dive into or to go in a deeper intimacy. It's so useful if people are able to feel and distinguish what has to do with something from the past and what is from actually right now. And from there on, real contact can happen, real intimacy can thrive. And it's also real intimacy, connection of human beings, collaboration is something so fundamental in archaearchy.
I would add all 10 of the distinctions for consciously feeling. The 10th one being that using I guess the 9 distinctions prior are they're distinctions that create archaearchy.
I just got to say something to there. Just like
Which would
What are these 9 distinctions?
Yeah, they're the distinctions that Clinton lays out in the book Conscious Feelings that used to be called Directing the Power of Conscious Feelings.
So what are the other 9 distinctions?
Yeah, I might miss them, but the first is that the distinction between thinking and feeling. Thinking is not feeling, and feeling is not thinking, which is a little bit the distinction between the mental body and the emotional body. But then that feelings have information and energy, so that connects them with the mental body and the energetic body. I mean, in a way, these are my own ways of saying it. That there are 4 distinct feelings: anger, sadness, fear, and joy, and that the others are mixtures. And that when they're used in their unmixed form, they're most useful, because then the information and energy comes from the distinct feeling that is, and that each of the 4 feelings are for something, that are useful for what they're useful for. And yeah, emotions as super useful doorways to healing processes, which healing processes and adult initiation processes are kind of synonymous. The phases, at least in terms of grow, I often think of archaearchy as overgrowing patriarchy, like kind of growing up through it, because it is so much about growing up into ever more adult ego state, getting more room in adult ego state that then can access archetypal ego state.
It's like a tree that grows through the forest up and makes so much shade that the weeds on the bottom they can't just not thrive because no light is reaching them. And it's kind of like no food is given to modern culture, to patriarchy anymore, so it will just slowly crumble and be fertilizer for the tree of archaearchy.
So these 10 sets of what was it called, the feeling work?
The
Is
10
this like
distinctions of
is there a
consciousness.
list of that somewhere? Is that like an official set of distinctions or
Yeah, do you
subset?
have the book, Aeon, the Conscious Feelings book, the one with the
Yeah.
water on the front?
Yes.
Yeah, they're
It's in
in there. It's one of the
in there.
maps, is the 10 distinctions of conscious feeling.
Okay.
It's
Great.
on page
I just made
113.
a decision that I have given myself another 15 minutes, because I think this is so valuable. So we're going to be 15 minutes late for our dance class.
Mm,
I celebrate this just to
yeah, yeah.
go.
I think the 3 cell as a seed for an archaearchy, for an arcan, like a, I don't know, like a 5-body arcan space. There's a way that I experienced myself as a seed of archaearchy that landed in a physical space, and it took having 2 other people for there to be a kind of, I don't know, maybe it's the difference between standing on 1 foot and, or a 1-legged stool and a 3-legged stool, something like that. I also, yeah, I always feel scared to say it here because it's so nothing I've heard in possibility management spaces, but I over and over, I think about the Fibonacci sequence, how it starts with 0 and 1, And then the next number is 0 plus 1, which is 1. So it starts with 0, and then there's 1, and there's 1 again. And then since 1 plus 1 equals 2, then there's 2. And then 2 plus 1 equals 3. And once you get to 3, it starts to really take off. And I noticed so many things happen that way where I show up, but nobody else shows up. But something still happened. And then I show up again, and one person shows up. And then there's 2 of us. And maybe it goes back to 0 and 1 a few times, but eventually there's 3. And this is where the rubber hits the road.
That's exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
We had this hard gym with Laura where I said, okay, there's a possibility to do this. And then we had another call where we met, and we met the 2 of us. And now Ian is already here.
So is there more people involved in this AIC thing than the 3 of us?
Yeah.
Because I had the impression that this was the first meeting.
This is.
These other were just fertilizer meetings until the first real meeting came to existence.
By the way, is there any chance that we can meet at 6 o'clock next time? Because otherwise I'll be sort of compromised with the Dan class again.
I'll
6
write
o'clock
that down.
Berlin time. That was 1 hour prior to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might need a different day, since on Wednesdays right now I'm committed to holding 333 times 4 Wednesdays at that time. And I got some feedback from a few others who I invited to this call personally, because there are other people who I see, they are Archiarchy Invention Center inventors. And so I wanted them to have this clear and personal invitation. And one of the people is Berenica, who is her and her partner Lucas are in Portugal. They're from Poland. They're in Portugal, and they keep grounding something, and they're in a bit of a between phase right now. But something that she asked was, could there be times that are at different times each month, or in whatever frequency we choose, so that there are, if she can't make one time, she could make every other call or something like that, and then watch the video recording of the calls in between. But she also has this, what she really wants to receive is the gold of the discoveries from the Archiarchy Invention Centers, which in a way is already this Gaia-versity. Here's your first little tutorial coming from what's been happening over in another place where a seed pod is sprouting an Archiarchy Invention Center.
I got this doorway from you right now to go a bit towards is the sharing the gold of the Archiarchy Invention Centers that each one is holding space for. Each one of us is holding space for. And then see where we're going from that point.
And do you want to go first, since you have only 5 more minutes?
Sharing the gold?
Or some gold, a nugget or 2.
Yeah. So, well, what have been going on for us, I don't know if this is gold or what it is, but I mean, after I have sort of become more familiar with possibility management, and we were actually a group of 4 people that had been working for several years here. And as I got clearer and clearer, and we have sort of been messing around a little bit, and one person had sort of periodic alcohol episodes and some kind of addiction to that. Another person, in my experience, had a difficulty in really dealing with fear and anger and expressing it. And as I became more and more clear about, I really, really need this emotional clarity and this emotional work to be at the foundation of this, otherwise it will not work. What actually happened is that our group fractured. And so that right now we are back to Venera and I. So we're just 2 people.
Mm.
And this happened over Christmas, and then the idea has just become clear. So now the thought form, the structure, the whole thing, I know what I want to create, and but we are back to square one in terms of people, 0 and 1, as you say.
Yeah,
So we are looking for our, and we are a couple, so we only count as one actually.
I was going to
Uh,
bring that too. That in a three cell, if they're a couple, they count as one.
yeah, I'm aware of that. So we're missing our
Other
two
two.
and three, and I have been holding it back, and right now, so this is actually my first step, really back my conversation with Clinton, and this because of this thing with needing to expand the online domain into Archiarchy from Possibility Management in order for me to feel comfortable with coming with my offers because they are not strictly contexted in Possibility Management.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's gold. It's just it's also been difficult actually to accept that while we have to leave this group thing and just be us, and then we seek other people that recognize this vibration and value and work from there.
Mm.
So what I get from you is goal to also keep keep your intention, keep it up, and hold your sword in cutting off the pieces that are that are not coherent with your vision, with what
Yes.
you're
So
actually wanting to create, and not letting that seed or this stew that you're cooking get contaminated by other contexts.
yeah, you could say that, and I mean, and what happened today sort of validates that, and on an energetic level anyway, because it was really amazing what happened, and I also sort of reminded of Gandhi saying that the truth is the truth, even if you're a minority of one, and so you could say there's some gold in that, really sticking to what is alive inside you and trust that. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some parts that are not able to compromise.
Yeah, and part of that is also I recognize the wisdom in the way Clinton is handling, particularly the whole contamination thing, and I do not believe that a guy in game world can do without that.
Mm.
It will get polluted, and I'm not prepared to let this game world become polluted in that way. So
Could you say a bit
I've
more?
taken a stand for that, and that has cost me sort of this breaking up,
Could you
and
say a bit more about what it means,
so
pollution,
uh,
and how to handle this?
sorry.
Well, this is something so valuable. Okay, there are archaeology convention centers, and pollution is always coming in. How to deal with the pollution?
Yes.
What is your goal about this?
You might have to tell us another time.
Yeah, I will switch over to my phone and I will be a little with you on the car, and then I have to go. So I'm going to skip out of this call and jump back in with my phone,
Okay.
Cool.
and you'll be in the car with us. So see you soon.
Thank you for bringing us in the car.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jan. For me, this thing with the pollution is present at the moment. Creating, I'm I'm creating free cells, basically projects, game worlds, and well, it's the time to keep the context clear and unpolluted.
Mm.
Set it every time, especially with the feelings and emotions. I'm I have the clarity that this is one of the first foundation stones to set the context for the Arcane game worlds, for the Gaian game worlds that I'm holding space for.
Mm.
And I'm scared of the pollution coming in and well, pollution or mixed contexts of
Yeah. And
and of how to handle feelings or where to bring the clarity from and okay, how do I don't want to also kind of like push say no, that's not a feeling, and constantly cut the people when they're saying, I feel relieved or I feel
Yeah,
good.
I notice that too. There are times when I'm, especially in what I would think of as culture to culture conversations, as in the culture that I've been building in my cultural bubble of archiarchy, having a conversation with somebody who may be an edge worker, but has not been undergoing emotional healing processes like the death and resurrection show on purpose. Like they might have kind of happened upon some processes. They might have even gone to some on purpose, but without the clarity that it's through the underworld that you get to the sky. Maybe
Mm,
even they have that clarity, but they, in a way, they limit it to what happens in a ritualized space or a held space, and so then there's this resistance to feeling, and that I notice how often I leave that. I don't, they say I feel relieved, and I see there the joy and the sadness kind of, and the fear disappear thing, and I get what they're talking about. I still might say because sometimes they skip over to the next thing, and without that deeper causal part, it somehow start skipping across the surface rather than being the whole lake.
mm.
Which reminds me of another distinction that might be I might include with this. What are the distinctions of archiarchy that goes with what Anne was saying about the, Gaia is a living entity, is a verse of her own, is that the physical body of Gaia, it just like my physical body kind of maps onto my energetic body, but there are energetic features that don't have physical manifestation. So does Gaia's physical body. It like speaks to the energy. It's evidence of energetics, and I think this is where there's this way of building technologies called um, biomimicry, where they use things that happen in nature to make something happen more like an example of that is that Velcro, that's made of plastic, is designed through biomimicking burrs, those seeds that have these little hooks all over
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
They like stick on your clothes or on an animal's fur, and then they get dropped further away from the plant that they came from.
Mm.
It's basically a seed transportation technology of
Okay.
Gaia that has been used by human beings to stick things all over the place.
Yes.
It's like Gaia gives so generously these, maybe it's appropriate to call them metaphors about how it goes.
Exactly. That's one fundamental thing also in the permaculture is that you study and you observe the patterns. Since I started doing this, I see the patterns over and over again in so different expressions.
And somehow this brings me to another thing that might be a distinction, is that when it comes to the ladder of technology and
Wait,
how
wait a second. Just to finish the first distinction.
oh
So in archaeology, we're observing nature and kind of using the technologies that nature is already providing, using the patterns to let our game worlds or use this nature's intelligence for our game worlds to thrive.
yeah, including the social structures.
social structure of a forest, for example, is a natural forest is
Yeah.
very, very diverse. So our teams
Yeah.
need to be very diverse to be um, resilient. And
Yeah.
also a forest is constantly
Siger du?
pruning itself with the animals and
Ja,
bugs
selvfølgelig.
that are coming. And so our teams, they need to kind of like constantly prune themselves also and saying, okay, time is over for you to be in the game world or for me to be in the game world, and this constant exchange. God, yeah.
Aeon, I've muted you while you're having a side conversation, but unmute yourself when you're ready to speak.
Yeah, I'm here. Is it noisy from the car if I leave the microphone on, or?
It was for a few moments there, and just because when your sound is louder, it cuts into the
Okay.
soundscape in the call, and I didn't hear what Anton was saying for some
Yeah,
minutes.
I will mute and unmute. It's fine.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
love it. We're learning how to have a whole new kind of call where not everybody is seated in their anchored space.
Odd.
Yeah, seed pods on the fly.
So I have a question. So could you tell me a little bit about the background for this call, and what is your sort of, how do you envision this continues? I noticed there's like 4 calls or something put on in the calendar, or I mean, just sort of bring me a little bit into the what you had in mind with how this goes.
So far, there's just the logistics for this call, with the intention being to have one every month on, we had said, second Wednesdays of the month.
Okay.
And this is the first experiment, and yeah, whatever feedback comes will be used to shape the next experiment.
Okay. Oh, I thought there was one in 2 weeks also. So, but it's once a month is the idea for this call.
So
Exactly.
far. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and there was a sense that from each call there may be seeded spin-off calls or spin-off spaces. If during the call certain necessities seem really clear, that then we want to do something before the next call, or somebody wants to do something before the next call because there's no we in responsibility, and proposes it and is joined in that.
I have one thing, and that is that I had been considering going to the Eco Village gathering in August in Hungary, I think it is. And in the end, I decided that I thought that it was probably not worth it because I don't know, just of this difficulty of landing things and also feeling just coming me. I could think that if there was a group going there with something about something along these lines, it might be more worthwhile going there. So I'm just putting on the table. They just had a deadline a few days ago for submitting workshop proposals.
And I'm not sure if you heard the legends from what happened after the Poland trainings last fall, where and Chloe Clinton, a big group, went to join the Gathering of Tribes as a camp. And I know that since I've been going back and forth between Europe, the United States, and Canada to go to different possibility management contexted projects, I've often found myself back in Canada alone, going to gatherings, and each time I go, I tell myself, next time I won't go again unless I'm bringing at least 2 other people with me, so that we can, set up an Arkin seed space. And
it's so much easier to maintain the context maintain your own context if you come as a 3-cell.
yeah,
To also have your team to, okay, I lost my context in the last conversation that I had with this stranger. and okay, I'm hooked from this person, and have the team to come back to the context and go again, come back and go again.
Yeah.
So that's very valuable
Yeah.
to to take your team wherever you go.
And it also becomes like a real time, I don't know, like the word demonstration comes to mind. Like I have that with Sarah and Laura, even with just two of us. Sometimes we could be sitting on the bus and we're checking in, we're having a feelings conversation. You know, we're using our feelings to check in, and people notice that something's going on. And sometimes then one of us starts a conversation, or the other person starts a conversation. It's like it creates this mass toward archiarchy that draws the people who are ready for that. And maybe they bounce out again. Maybe they bounce out a few times.
Something that is also present with me in relation to this eco-village thing is that I know Clinton went to something called the Green Phoenix Conference, and he has on a couple of occasions tried to land some of these things in the eco-village movement, and they haven't really landed well. And I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's my mother who actually initiated this whole movement, so I've sort of really grown up with it, and it's been a lifelong desire to build a bridge from my own point of view to them to this community, a movement of community. And so I'm just putting it out there as something that part of me wants to go, but part of me feels that it needs something more than just me or something for it to really be worthwhile.
I have a
Yeah,
possibility for you, Anne. Do you want to hear it?
yeah.
And I would before this, I would like to hear from Aeon what do you want to do about it? So you have this desire and you're thinking about creating a team and what now?
Well, my decision about it has been to focus my efforts on other things, among others, to expand the Arkham game world and develop things there before going back into the Eco Village game world. So that was my sort of decision to not go there this year, or not offer to host spaces this year. Um, so it's not sort of giving up. It's just maybe waiting until next year until things are a little bit more mature
Okay. And
to
still,
reconnect with the Eco Village game world.
yeah, and still have here the desire from you to go there and to eventually and to only go there with the team.
Well,
And
uh,
and now you're saying you took already the decision to not go there.
well, let's put it this way. I decided not to go. I might reconsider if I had also considered putting out a proposal to the Arkham game world, to the British game world, and see if there are people interested in, for instance, nurturing the idea of creating a diversity, or nurturing the idea of creating a Gaian constitution for the whole planet, or something like that. It would be interesting to go, but going in there and trying to articulate these ideas and just feeling that no, we're not about that, doesn't really feel so inspiring. It just feels like it needs something else to really land, and so
Mm.
it's a matter of timing, and also sort of building a certain kind of matrix or mass for building the bridge to the eco-village community, which yeah.
Yeah, what I hear from you is that you want to hold space for something for Archiarchy eventually in in the Gaian or in the Gen gathering, and that you want the
Well,
team for this, and that you don't have yet clarity of what's the space that you want to hold.
basically, I see the diversity as something that could be eventually every big community could create a diversity in their heart and lift
Ah.
in the energy up. And this is the idea of making something that can be copied. But it's like the work that we are doing is so just in the beginning, so in the seedling, that I don't know that it's time yet to bring it into a greater arena before it has matured a little bit. But at the same time, I feel that time is urgent and a lot of stuff needs to happen. So I'm open to possibilities, and I'm looking for collaborators, and I have a lot of ideas, and that's just where I'm at right now.
And here you go, Nicole, with your possibility.
Yeah. My possibility is to ask whoever, ask in the creation village who is going, because my guess is that there are possibilitators who are going to that gathering, and to propose to camp together and just really make a little Gaiaversity as your home camp space, and
Live it already.
practice being a Gaiaversity.
Yeah. I don't know if this train has sailed because the deadline has passed, but anyway, for me, it is an important step. Also, the conversation tomorrow about expanding this Arkham thing with Clinton, and I think this meeting is also really important to me.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to see how it goes, and also what comes from inside in terms of inspirations, and yeah. Right now it feels that
I don't think you need to have like signed up for any work to hold space for any workshop to set up a Gaiaversity camp.
No, I mean there's also a lot of possibilities. So the question for me is, we want to spend the resources to go down there? It's quite a bit of a travel and time and expense and stuff like that, versus using these resources in other ways. For instance, with you creating something here or online or whatever. It's just a matter of resources, really, if it feels that this is the right thing to do right now. And this conversation sort of just is nourishing and inspiring, and just brings this back to me, which I actually had decided not to do.
I think that's now way more clearer than what you were saying in the beginning, that
Yeah.
you are considering, okay, what do you want to spend your resources on?
Yeah, that's the reason. Or so.
And I would want you to work with like the question deeper down of what do you want? What do you want to exist?
I want I want this new space to manifest and to live, and first of all, we need to also just anchor it in our own place, and so it's just very, very sort of virginal, what do you call it? So very new, very seedling-like at this time. So I think we just need to also be with that. That's the reality of it, and then see how it goes. We can always decide later to go to Hungary if over the summer that we feel a calling to go there.
Yeah. Yeah, this brings another distinction, which is that even though the three cell for an Archiarchy Invention Center, like the people of the 3 cell, when nighttime comes, they need a bed to sleep in. When the time comes, they need a bathroom, they need a toilet, they need running water. And sometimes that means that they stay put in one place. And it's possible that a seed pod can be nomadic. And it's also possible that, it seems so obvious in a way that any seed pod can move somewhere else for a period of time and keep doing what we're doing, which is inventing Archiarchy. And I love this. In tourist technology, so much is about converging and diverging. And if there are, say, 7 Archiarchy Invention Centers with, let's just for math's sake say 7 people in them, because they've gone past the 3-cell stage into, maybe it would be 8 as a Fibonacci number, who then converge at gatherings like the Global Eco-Village Network Convergence each summer, and make an Archiarchy Invention Center like a pop-up one, a temporary one.
This reminds me of an inspiration I actually had some weeks back, which had to do with, I mean, at our place, we have a physical space with 30 beds and conference center and possibility of creating hybrid meetings with, cameras and live streaming and all kinds of stuff. And I had this inspiration of creating something this summer as the name I got from it was 10 days that could change the world. And the basic idea is to, if you go to the Guyversity and Oberian.com, which is also linked to by the Guyversity, you can see these 7 seedlings vision, which are very big. I mean, it's about creating a Gaian constitution. It's about creating Gaian politics. It's about creating some really big moves in the cultural sphere that really would change things if we could manifest this. And the idea with these days was to sort of build up to creating groups that start to actually work on some of these projects, to populate them, to make this being come alive that came to us today. And I think my heart yearns more for that than going to Hungary so this is sort of what's alive in me now. This is what I would really, really love to see, is to gather a group of people, which is us times 10, and with people that are really oriented to wanting to create these innovation centers and capturing these ideas and just basically just shake the world with our will to really create something different. I would love that to happen.
You do that. Will you make that happen?
I will, if I can see it happen, if I can get some people on board, and I would share the idea in the center. And if you wanted to work with me, I would love that. I don't know how it goes, to be honest. And right now we are just Binera and I. So it's a huge leap from where we are at. If you're interested, if this sparks something in you, we could perhaps schedule another meeting to discuss this and other things that is a little bit less stressed than now, because there was all this with me going around. I would love to have time to talk more with the two of you about these things, if you feel up to it, and not waiting for a month to do that.
Yeah, I have I have some impulses come, which are, the big leap. I highly recommend checking out what Dawe Meredith, I was part of the team a couple of years ago, created this gathering called Lighting the Edge. And it was maybe like the gathering that comes before 10 days to change the world. It's a 3-day gathering where it's a taste of something that then could become, I've gone to so many different gatherings, 3 days, 5 days, a week-long gathering from time to time, and I really think I experience them as practice villaging. And going to these gatherings really helped me get clear about what was missing to make it really work, not just as a short-term village, but as an all-day, every day for the rest of my life home to live in.
Thank you for that. I need to go because I'm at the dance class. If I would love to meet next week sometime. If you feel like it, we could maybe communicate online about it. But I would love to continue this conversation, and maybe I can report back to you what comes out of my conversation with Clinton tomorrow, and I will share this paper, and we can just. Is there a Telegram group for this? Maybe we could
I
create
was
one
just
for.
thinking, I propose that we start with this 3-cell Telegram group and, not be in a rush to grow it, just do what's coming next and let it emerge, let it really grow rather than trying to force it into being something that we are longing for. Let it grow through its stages.
I'm totally in. And thank you for this great call, and I look forward to talking with both of you. And now I need to go to dance tango.
And
All right.
happy dancing.
Yeah. Good.
Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
So just to clarify, this will be in Archiarchy Invention Center Convergence Telegram group.
Yeah, Archiarchy Invention Center Inventors
Okay.
Telegram group is what I was. Is that different from what you just said? A little bit.
Yeah. Well, for me, it would be a group to continue the conversations that we have in for the monthly gathering. But yeah, no, when you say this, it lands in me. The Archiarchy Invention Center Inventors.
Yeah. And what I really get is like this has been such a great it's I'm so sparked by being here. And I it seems patriarchal to me to be like, "Oh, then we have another meeting on the same day at the same time in 4 weeks." Like what if it was more like juggling, like the Archiarchy Invention Center inventor who gets the necessity to create the next call creates one, and whoever can go goes, and it's more this organic uh, converging and diverging according to necessity.
I really enjoy this. I like this of people. Okay, you call for a convergence, and who's there will be there.
Yeah,
And I also I'm on the way of reducing my online calls, so I'm available to be there and hold the space once a month, and that's about it for the moment. I will also not be in the Aeon's proposed call in next week.
I love the clarity. Awesome.
Thank you. And I
Yeah,
want to, okay,
my challenge will be to not spread myself too thin. This is one of the lessons I'm taking from Gaia is to, yeah, keep things pruned so that things can really grow on the branches that I'm letting be on the tree.
exactly. Otherwise, they just get pruned by nature.
Yeah. I mean, I don't I
And
can I can
you
use my own authority rather than waiting for Gaia to send an ice storm.
exactly. Otherwise, you get sick. And what I harvested from what Aaron was bringing and the feedback that I have for him is that I see he wants to make, he has this huge vision
Yeah.
and he wants to bring that, to make that happen with all at once at kind of. And what I get from it, what I get from one goal for creating Archiarchy Invention Centers is to start small,
Yeah.
to start with the little bricks and can make a training just about the feelings, for example. Make a training just about one distinction, one brick,
Yeah.
and from there on build the foundation, and eventually the team, the 3-cell, will crystallize for making the um 10 days that can change the world gathering
Yeah.
sustaining.
Yeah, I get this, on the circle building website, it's really about building a circle. And to build a game world is to build a circle of circles. So it starts with the first circle, the infinity ring, and to feed the people who might join the circle. So they join, they converge, and they diverge. They go home. Then they converge some more. Maybe they stay for longer. Or maybe they converge with me in an ETB, or in a
Mhm.
festival as a camp. And it's
Yeah. One fear that I have is creating big things and having them. Oh, that was something that I heard from Vera saying that okay, go. I'm mixing a lot of things that I got from other people that I see so valuable. Is okay, go failing forward
yeah.
in your creation instead of having it so clear and so complex in your mind and maybe even written down, which is you cannot eat a whole potato at once. You need to have a bite, bite by bite. So to to make the creation already happening right now and don't wait until making the full thing happen because it
Mhm.
just won't happen. Nature is not growing a whole forest all at once.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me, this friend of mine said that it took him 12 years to become an overnight sensation. And another way of saying it is this: uh, start with what you have rather than trying to accumulate what you don't have so that then you can have the thing you want. It's like start with what you have and create what you want with what you have. And I think this is again the magic of the 3 cell is, I had me and I had a room big enough for 2 women to fit in it with me.
It's a fundamental permaculture principle.
Yeah. And so this like inner permaculture part too is like start with what you have. Start with the missions I
Exactly.
have. Start with the value I have, the gold I have. Like I I think if I had my possibility management adventure to live over, as soon as I'd been initiated into first position, I would have turned around and I would have offered that initiation to other people. Just that first like whoo. And then I did start offering feeling spaces. Uh, yeah, and then I kind of tried to, and then I got, oh, what I really need to offer first is anger, just anger. And then Rage Club, you know, space holder
And,
training came into
and
being.
yeah, and these are this you were failing forward.
Yeah,
How could anybody have told you um a distinction, distinction you need to live it until it really
builds its way into all of my
slowly
bodies.
down. Exactly.
Yeah,
So that's so maybe another distinction or another goal for the Archiarchy Invention Centers is okay, just declare I created now and then go failing forward in your creation. Start the first creation and and make it happen. It might not work, or you come to the Archaeology Invention Center Convergence and get your support.
yeah,
Or well, there's so many possibilities to get support. And so one important step in the creation is doing it. Just create your Archaeology Invention Center now.
yeah, yeah. That I think that was really the moment where the rubber first started hitting the road for me was to declare the little room I lived in as an Archiarchy Invention Center, and then feeling the
Yes.
failing forward as a team of one just really built in me the pain that then I used to start inviting people. And I invited in so many different ways. Like there were so many experiments that failed, that gave me information and possibility for how to make the next invitation, how to choose who to invite with more clarity. Mm. And yeah, and it's almost as if the third person just showed up on her own.
So you kind of informed your universe about what is going to happen in your seed pod. You
Yeah.
declared this is a seed pod for at least 3 people. That's an Archiarchy Invention Center. And I gonna get some people here.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
And it made a big difference when also Anne Chloe gave me the job to find apprentices. And I was so scared of this because I was scared I would turn that into a hierarchy. And it's a valid fear. It's an appropriate fear because there are still elements of hierarchy happening in this Archiarchy Invention Center seed pod that, in a way, if I'm making excuses for myself, which I'm not, but there's also some authentic kind of as-isness to this, that I'm 20 years older than the other 2 people who are here. I've given birth and raised 4 children. So there's
Wow.
this lived experience. And plus I'm more of a rescuer. So I'm working with that as an addiction to low drama in my particular flavor. So it's built in to our 3-cell for us each to become ever more on each other's team for exactly those transformations that are the ones that are kind of relevant to who each of us so far is, how our box and our gremlin are, and what our inner structure is. So the problem is constantly the solution. My problem with each of theirs gremlins is the solution. And I am so grateful to echo that we already started out in gremlin training, gremlin transformation 0 together.
What I really love
It's so painful.
about us possibility management nerds is the shared language in the
Yeah.
shared initiations and some clarity. It's so I can really relax into this and
Yeah.
hey, to be with you. Oh yeah, you have gone through this experience too, and you have harvested your gold there. Hmm. In wow, it's also like Archaeology Convention Centers is about teaming up and becoming from the lone wolf or coming from the lone wolf into this team. Okay, an Archiarchy Convention Center needs to have at least 3 people.
Yeah.
Or well, I don't know. You just that that is kind of like an upgrade. Okay, you declare your Archaeology Convention Center first when you're alone, and then okay, this is kind of like the next step is to get your people to get
Yeah.
the
I also discovered there's a way that a couple, as one of a 3-cell, can also be in lone wolf mode together.
totally
Yeah. And
totally.
even as a 3-cell, we can go into lone wolf mode together.
So it's kind of like communal lone wolf thing.
Yeah. And
I experienced this.
I've been hearing from a few people who are close to Tamara Eco Village.
Hmm.
And this was one of the revelations that was discovered by the whole Eco Village of Tamara, is that they'd been so busy with what they were doing at their Eco Village that they've kind of lost track of what other people were figuring out, and they weren't doing so much cross-pollination. So yeah, in the way the whole village was a lone wolf pack of.
I resonate with this. We were doing this kind of um in Lakesh, also here in Mexico. There's the project, the four of us that we are Yananti now were part of. We had constantly visitors coming in, especially from the game world of possibility management. And at the same time, we were kind of like an isolated bubble in the local region. We didn't have so much interaction with the other projects that are on the edge of modern culture. And a part of me was not really fed, was unnurtured to okay, I need to also have this connection to this people to the people around me. And so Archiarchy Invention centers are kind of like very they're have their sacred core, their context that are defining and holding and deepening, and at the same time they're think also mm, they're kind of like open so for information people energy to come in and go out,
Yeah.
so they're permeable.
Yeah. Yeah, something I get about archiarchy, I've been hearing myself say, and this applies to this permeable, almost like bubble, including my individual bubble. It's like it's subject to choice. It's about choosing, and I heard myself describe archiarchy as a consciously chosen culture, rather than it being the one that kind of, you got born in, so you perpetuate it. It's a chosen culture, and I don't know how it goes once archiarchy is established on planet Earth. And yet still there's this moment of choice, like the red pill, blue pill moment. And the choice to let people in and to go out of an archiarchy invention center or a bridge house, it's like there are consequences. And holding the context according to the diverging and converging of the team, and also the letting in of whoever comes to join. What is the purpose? This has become a really big, clear thing that we're growing here at the seed pod. Is what is the purpose for this space? What is the purpose for this conversation? What is the purpose for, and then seeing to the logistics as a short, clean space. Yeah, I followed a bunch of threads and ended up here.
Great. Yeah, I celebrate the consciousness of asking yourself what's the purpose of this space, and maybe also create a meta conversation about this with your teammates.
Yeah. Yeah, those meta conversation starters are gold.
And they can be so dangerous. So question what's going on.
Yeah.
To not take it as that's just how it goes, or yeah. That this is not the only way it can go.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed the sadness I feel about how even in just these, I think it's been 1 month or 2 months, 2 months with two of us, then 1 month with three of us almost. There's so much discovery that hasn't been documented. And I have this question, like, even though there's three of us, we still each have 24 hours in one day and 7 days in one week. and to choose to make time is now to choose not to make time for that so it can be made for this. And I have a big question about what would be a efficient and fun way to document the gold so then it can be broadcast. Yeah, aware that this has been so far an hour and a half call, and I don't know who will make time to listen all the way through, and if it's condensed enough to keep the attention of someone who's chosen to listen.
Mm, I don't know either. And what came to me and one feedback that I got from my trainer. I have a trainer for being parent.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm so blessed. And he said that okay, it's so important to have the rhythms as a father, as human being.
Mm.
Also, especially to hold space with the rhythm for my children. And then this can be kind of like included in the rhythm. And then for at night, nights are he told me that at night it's so important to build already the kind of like to close the day and then build the bridge also to the next day. You know,
Mm.
to kind of like okay, open the door. And one way could be to sit down at night and just take some notes in your journal.
Yeah,
Write that down. And it's also digesting the previous day. Writing that down, okay, and getting clarity for going to sleep. So having the loose ends get kind of like written down. And then this already is such a nice doorway to go into night. And it's important to have that on paper because I think it's not so beneficial to have a screen when it's already day
dark.
light
Yeah,
nighttime.
I love that, and I see how then every few days there could also be a harvest of the harvest to go out.
Yeah, and well, take a picture of your notes and share it.
Yeah, yeah,
And then whenever you have like, okay, there's something so important in what I wrote, can like refine it and type it down.
yeah.
I take that on as a mission for tonight. I want to propose a writing space.
Mm.
Last night we had a drawing space.
Yay.
Yeah. So great pictures came out. So uh in the kindergarten, the my parent mentor trainer, he said that our children know what we're doing. Unconsciously they know what we're doing
Mm.
in their sleep. So they're kind of like, "Ah, yes, my parents are taking care of themselves."
Mm. Yeah.
They can sleep more deeply and more relaxed.
Oh, wow.
They won't wake up and cry when you're taking care of yourself.
Gosh. Wow. If I had my mothering to do over again, I think I would let my kids know when I put them to bed, okay, I'm going to go take care of myself now so that I'm like ready for our adventures tomorrow.
Ah, this is something I want to integrate for being a father in Archiarchy Invention Center to okay, bring my child to bed and tell him, okay, I'm gonna take care of myself right now. And I will bring you to in bed so you can take care of yourself.
Oh, yeah. feel sad remembering how often putting the children to bed would be this like fight to get them to stay in their bed so I could take care of myself. But it was just such a win-lose game
No
rather than
problem.
winning happening game.
Yeah, you're the victim of your children.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the thought where, wow, I feel glad I can see clearly from this place in time more clearly. Hindsight.
I notice when I bring my son to bed, anytime at night or in the siesta time, and I'm stressed that he falls asleep, it takes longer than when I'm just like, well, I take some time with you right now and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I'd sleep or not. And then he's like,
Yeah. Oh, that was easy. Anton, I propose we close here.
that works for me. I'm so fed up from this call.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I'm surprised. I'm surprised how nourished and inspired I am right now. I knew I wanted this call to exist, and I don't think I imagined that it would be so nourishing. Yay.
Yeah, to wrap it up for me, it's a space for letting letting all this gold be there and celebrate it and share that what's in me freely with you and with Aeon and with whoever will listen and watch the recording. And to just let we created a space with so much softness and acceptance
Mm.
and authenticity also, that the gold could naturally bubble up and be in the space and we could just take it off the surface.
Yeah.
Like the foam on a, I don't know, on a drink.
Yay. Well, thank you. And yeah, I'll create the Telegram group and I'll make you also an admin in it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then yeah, I heard you say that you're committed to holding space to like a every second Wednesday
No.
or no.
Once every second Wednesday a month.
Yes. Yeah, second Wednesdays of the month.
Yeah, and I'm also already have the clarity that I want to replace myself with this.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yay, replacing ourselves. This is a distinction of archiarchy.
Wow, it's such a valuable thing, way.
Yeah.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah.
But
Gracias. Goodbye for now.
goodbye for now.